If you guys don't know Dave Hayes, he's famous for being a QAnon interpreter. That's what they're called. QAnon doesn't really have prophets per se. They have people who read the posts of the leader of QAnon, who goes by Q. That's what they call themselves, Q. That's like the leader of the organization or whatever. And these interpreters come along and they try to like interpret what Q meant by these Q drops. That's what they're called. Dave Hayes is one of the more famous QAnon interpreters out there. And he had something interesting to say about Hillary Clinton recently. But let me give you a brief history of Dave Hayes and his feelings about the QAnon movement before we get into the more recent stuff. If you don't know what the storm is, QAnon defines the storm as this big event where all of the evil people are going to be arrested and sent through military tribunals for all of the evil things they did or whatever, and it's going to happen any day now. It's like the QAnon version of Armageddon, where there's this big war between good and evil forces, and the good is going to triumph over the evil, and the military is going to come in and save everybody and charge the evil ones and all that other stuff. And he made a prediction, specific prediction, each year that he's been involved in QAnon. 2017, 2018, 2019, all the way to 2022. Claimed that the storm was happening that year. It's a non-religious cult, but most members of the cult are heavily religious, heavily Christian, like deeply extremist Christian types. Anyways, now that you have an idea of who Dave Hayes is and, you know, his predictions and all that stuff, let me show you one of his last appearances about QAnon. This one came out early February 2022. I'll get into why this is one of his last about this subject in a second, but just watch this.
No one has been more pissed off at Q than me. For the 3 years we sat through of waiting for the arrests, thinking that the arrests were just around the corner, like it was just going to happen. And this next week we're going to see people arrested. Yeah,
I mean, I gotta say, people in Jesus' day believed the end was coming in their lifetime. So Christians have been experiencing the same unhappiness, I guess you could say, about their situation. They've been predicting Armageddon's going to come any 5 minutes now for like 2,000 years. Welcome to the club, man. You're in that same situation.
And it never happened. So I have, as much frustration as anyone does about how long we've been waiting for the arrest to happen. However, Q did warn us on the front end of the conversation that a lot of what he was going to put out was going to be disinformation.
Yeah, very true.
Disinformation designed to make the bad guys make wrong moves. So you had to get real with that. If you're going to buy on to the Q thing, you have to know up front half of what Q is going to tell you is not going to be true. It's for the purpose of psychological operations, and that's just how it is.
Dude, this is so sad. So deeply heartbreaking that this guy fell for it. He fell for it, and he continues to fall for it. Like, to this day. How do you dig yourself out of a hole like this? For those of you who are wondering, we actually have a pretty good idea who Q is, by the way. I explained earlier, QAnon is a movement led by somebody who calls himself Q, who posts things online, Q drops they call them, and they're cryptic, weird little claims about him being a government operative and the cabal is going to be toppled any day now. You just wait and see. They even made very specific claims in some cases, like Hillary Clinton is going to be arrested today by the National Guard and all this other stuff. And of course, none of it ever happened. None of it ever played out the way that he claimed. In fact, some of it didn't play out at all, like in any way, shape, or form. The guy obviously was not actually a member of the government. But after some hard investigative journalism, we believe that we've figured out who it is. We being non-QAnoners, basically. The media. There was a documentary called Into the Storm, I think, that established pretty reasonably, or pretty strongly, pretty clearly, that Ron Watkins, aka Code Monkey, was posting as Q. That's not guaranteed. That's a strong suspicion. But if he wasn't posting as Q, He absolutely knows who Q is. He knows. He managed the website that Q posted on. In fact, he owned the servers. His dad owned the servers, and he was the administrator of the servers and the website that Q posted on. So he had location data about Q, and he had the ability to sign in and post as Q. So if he's not Q, the guy that's leading this gigantic movement, he knows exactly who it is. Well, as it turns out, he's running for Senate, I think? Yeah, I guess it's Congressional District 2. So he's running for House of Representatives, I believe, in Arizona. And they had a debate. So I wanted to just give you an idea of who this Q person likely is. Again, speculation. He likes to sue people for calling him that. So I'm just saying I don't know that for sure. Give this a watch and see how he does in his debate.
My name is Ron Watkins, and I am not a politician. I am an...
Really? I couldn't tell. That deeply surprises me you're not a politician. Okay, go on, Ron. I'm interested.
I am an entrepreneur, and I'm a computer scientist. We have to send a fighter, and I am your fighter. I am fighting for you. If you send me to DC, you will know that I will be fighting against this evil, and I will make sure that we drive them back, and I will make sure that your rights are kept.
Are kept, okay. Protected would have been a good word. Your rights are protected. But, okay, kept is an okay choice, I suppose.
This issue for this district is the border wall. The border wall was not completed, and there are actually sections of it that were destroyed. And I went down to those sections, and I asked the locals, how did this section of the border wall get destroyed? And they told me that Biden sent the Army Corps of Engineers down there to destroy the border wall for flood prevention issues. So I went down there, and I saw with my own eyes, I saw the coyotes sitting right across the border.
By the way, if you're unfamiliar, coyote is like a term to describe somebody who's smuggling people into and out of the United States from, like, across borders, basically. They're moving people across borders. That's what it means. Okay, so you saw coyotes at the border. Go on.
The coyotes looked me in the eyes, and they ran away.
I bet. That checks out. Totally. I mean, I would look in this guy's eyes and run away. I have to tell you the truth on that point. Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense.
I want to say that we would not even be in Ukraine if President Biden did not shut down the Keystone Pipeline on the first day.
That one's a tall claim. I have no idea how he got there, but okay.
Because now that that's shut down, we have to get our oil, and we're getting it from Russia, and we're getting all these problems through the Ukraine, and that would not have happened if Biden did not.
So you see, the Ukraine, the pipeline helped prompt Russia to invade Ukraine.
The pipeline was just a way of distributing oil. It was just moving oil from A to B. We can still move the oil in other ways other than the pipeline. It's not like the pipeline was creating oil out of nothingness. We didn't have to go to Russia to get more oil because the pipeline wasn't built. We could have gotten the oil from the source of where the pipeline was being built in the first place. Just have to transport it differently.
The pipeline helped prompt Russia to invade Ukraine.
Yes, sir, because...
This is him trying to create new propaganda, by the way.
We've got all of this oil coming through from Russia to the United States, and they want the better routes to bring the oil through.
That's not why they went into Ukraine. They went into Ukraine because Ukraine didn't want to be part of NATO.
And this is his opponent rejecting that propaganda. He could have doubled down, and honestly, I think that it would have been the best decision from a propaganda perspective for him to have doubled down and say, no, you're wrong. This is exactly why it's happening, blah, blah, blah. That probably would have been helpful. Let's see how he reacts.
You're trying to work on the national stage, and you don't even know why the war started in Ukraine. It had nothing to do with the Keystone Pipeline. The Keystone Pipeline caused the inflation and the increase in our gas prices.
It didn't, FYI. I just want to put that on record. The Keystone Pipeline was already almost complete. It's in like stage 3 or stage 4 of completion or something. It's already working. It's nonsense. It's propagandistic nonsense as usual.
And the increase in our gas prices. The reason why they went into Ukraine is because Russia wanted Ukraine as they had them pre-World War II, and Ukraine wanted to be part of NATO.
Respond, please.
That's correct, actually. That is gross simplification of the situation, but okay, I'll accept that as an explanation.
Respond, please.
He's right. I made a mistake.
You are definitely not a politician. Absolutely not a politician in any way. Why would you say that, dude? Like, that is literally the worst thing you could possibly say in that situation. You create new propaganda, you have to double down on it and understand there's going to be pushback. Of course there's going to be pushback. This is just ridiculous. So that's alleged to be Q. And there is strong evidence for it, in my opinion. Very strong evidence. Again, if you want to see the evidence for it, watch Into the Storm, I think is the name, or The Storm is Upon Us or something. It's an HBO documentary. Absolutely fascinating. He's not the original Q, though. There was another Q before him. Guy's name was likely Paul Ferber. The Q posts were probably joint posts between Paul Ferber and Tracy Beans Diaz. That's our best guess. Then it moved to 8chan, and that was this guy's website, and I believe that's probably when he took over everything. But again, who knows? It's all speculation. We don't know for sure, and don't sue me. Anyways, as I was saying, this QAnon interpreter, Dave Hayes, absolutely obsessed with the movement, with the beliefs, with everything that this guy allegedly, probably most likely created. And he comes out here talking to this woman on this podcast, right? This clip came out late May 2022. So he's still on that train. He's still buying it. May 2022, people. I mean, this movement started in 2017, I think, or somewhere in there. And they claimed that the storm was going to be here any day now. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and now 2022. How much you want to bet they're going to continue into 2023? Going on 7 years with their claims that the storm is upon us, that these people are going to be arrested, and all this other stuff, and nothing happens. Listen to what he had to say on this podcast.
Are we going to see Cankles in an orange jumpsuit?
Cankles, I believe, is the nickname that they have for Hillary Clinton. Just based on context, that's what I picked up.
Yep.
You think so?
They're all going down.
Okay. You don't think she has enough lawyers to keep her from seeing a day inside of a cell?
I think she's going to a military tribunal.
Why a military tribunal? Aren't those reserved for very specific special circumstances within the military?
Okay.
And the reason is, I think that Comey, Hillary, Obama, Holder, Mueller.
He's making this list up right off the top of his head, but he's doing it with such confidence.
Anyone who was a department head from 2014 timeframe who signed off on the Uranium One sale is going to be tried for treason. And that includes a lot of people.
My God, dude, this guy is so confident in his delusions. And I do feel comfortable calling them delusions in his case. I really do. Delusion is a technical term, but I feel comfortable calling it that in his case. One of the top QAnon interpreters in the world. One of the top ones that there are. And he is absolutely insisting Hillary and Comey are going down for treason and going to be tried by the military. Disconnected, dude. Disconnected. He isn't just completely irrational in this area either. As I said earlier, QAnon is a non-religious cult. You don't have to be religious to be a member of it technically, because a lot of the claims don't really revolve around God necessarily, but everybody in it is religious. And some of the claims are supernatural. So listen to what he has to say about non-QAnon claims, like religious claims, because the dude is deeply, deeply religious too. This one came out May 6th, I believe.
We've discovered when you pay out your tithe and you're generous in tithing and offerings, it's amazing how far the money goes.
Wow, so is he saying when you pay money to the church or to him, it's amazing how far the rest of your money goes? I have to say, man, I think your money would go a hell of a lot further if you weren't paying it to somebody else. What a ridiculous claim. Your money will go further if you spend 10% of it on me.
No, it is. And I have a lot of friends who have seen miraculous multiplication of gas, I would call it. They've driven across the country on an empty tank of gas, literally like all the way across the country, and never filled up their car.
That's
God just
crazy.
provided all the gas that they needed.
So good. So
Wow. Interesting. Okay, well, why are you complaining about the gas prices then? Can't you just miraculously divine your own gas? Can't you just snap your fingers if you have such control over what God does? Can't you just snap your fingers or ask God to snap his fingers and fill your gas tank? What's with all the complaining? Again, that's not the only weird belief that he has. It's not even the weirdest, in my opinion. He has some bizarre beliefs about demons, too. Listen to this.
So in the same way that our physical body has the senses of sight, taste, touch, sound, right? We have all these different senses. Our spiritual man, our spiritual body has the same senses. Our spirit is able to smell. I've done a couple of exercises on various different videos where I ask God to manifest the aroma of heaven, and people have smelled what heaven smells like with their spirit. Their spirit has smelled it.
I was going to ask this before I get too far from where you said it. You said someone smells with their spirit. I've smelled both the Lord and or heaven, whichever it was, and I smelled the demon. But when it happened, I knew where I was
You could smell a demon.
standing, let's say the demonic, and I smelled sulfur. Now, I was smelling it in my nose, but was I smelling it in
It's a
the
spiritual
spirit?
aroma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though
You
feels
smell
like
it in
it's
your
coming
nose.
Yeah.
Your body senses, oh, I'm smelling it in my nose, but it's actually your spirit is smelling that demon or that
Okay.
angel.
Wow. This is so many levels of comical and sad simultaneously. That's what we're dealing with, people. This guy is actually very famous. He is actually very well known, especially in Christian communities and the QAnon community. Very influential in these communities. He's written 16 books, made a ton of money from them. Disturbing stuff, man. So here's my question for you. Will this guy ever give up on the idea that Hillary's going to jail? And here's an even better question. When Hillary inevitably dies of old age or whatever it is, she turns 96 and she's on her deathbed and her kids are surrounding her and they kiss her and say goodbye and they love you and all that stuff, and she closes her eyes to the eternal sleep. Do you think he's going to make up a conspiracy theory that she was secretly beamed back up to space by the cabal who called her back so she could work on Mars or something? Is this guy going to make up a new conspiracy theory about Hillary when she dies? And is he ever going to give up on her? Ever? Is he ever going to let Hillary go? Let me know in the comments.